Before the 1979 revolution and the rise of Ayatollah Khomeini, Iran was very different from the image many around the world know today. For nearly 4 decades, up to 1979, the country was ruled by a monarchy under the Pahlavi dynasty, a Western-leaning royal house led by Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. The Pahlavi dynasty had been established in 1925 by Reza Shah, a former soldier, who rose to power and replaced the old Qajar monarchy with a modernizing state.
My fellow Iranians,
under the Shah, Iran experienced rapid change, a transformation that would reshape every corner of society. The Shah's program of modernization, known as the White Revolution, began in the 1960s. It was a top-down effort to modernize Iran's economy and society. Land reform was implemented. Women gained greater legal rights in some areas. Literacy campaigns expanded education, and industrial development accelerated. These reforms were intended to bring Iran into the modern age and reduce the power of traditional elites. Cities like Tehran, Isfahan, and Shiraz began to look more cosmopolitan, with new universities, hospitals, cinemas, and theaters appearing alongside traditional bazaars. Iranian students went abroad and returned with new ideas. Western fashion, music, and films became widespread, especially in urban areas. Oil wealth fueled major public works and economic expansion. Iran's vast oil reserves made it a key player in global energy markets. Revenues from oil enabled infrastructure projects, industrial diversification, and the growth of a middle class. Education and scientific progress surged. Iran's universities enrolled millions, and the nation became competitive in fields such as patents and invention. Yet this prosperity was uneven. Rural areas lagged behind, and many felt excluded from the benefits of modernization. Income inequality widened. Rapid urbanization uprooted traditional social structures and left many feeling alienated in a changing society. Not everyone welcomed the Shah's reforms. Traditional religious leaders saw white revolution policies, like land redistribution and women's expanded roles, as a threat to religious authority and social norms. Secular critics argued that real political freedoms were limited and that political dissent was suppressed. Iran's feared secret police, Savak, became infamous for repressing opposition. Amid this tension, a cleric emerged whose voice would become central to the coming upheaval. Ruhollah Khomeini was a Shiite cleric who rose as a vocal critic of the Shah in the early 1960s. As the ruler pushed modernization and reduced the political influence of the clergy, Khomeini spoke out forcefully. He was imprisoned in 1963 and then exiled from Iran in 1964. He lived first in Turkey, then in Iraq's holy city of Najaf, and ultimately in France, where he continued to build a broad network of supporters. From exile, Khomeini developed the idea of velayat-e-faqih, the guardianship of the jurist, a concept that would later underpin the Islamic Republic. His messages reached Iranians through taped sermons and religious networks, and he became a symbol of resistance for many disaffected by the Shah's rule. Discontent across Iran had reached a boiling point. In major cities like Tehran and Qom, protests grew in size and intensity. Students, workers, clergy, secular nationalists, and left-wing groups all found common cause against the Shah's authoritarianism and perceived Western dominance. Demonstrations, strikes, and clashes with security forces became increasingly common. The unrest of 1978 ultimately set the stage for seismic change. What had begun as sporadic protests transformed into a full-scale revolutionary movement, fueled by frustration with inequality, repression, and cultural dislocation. Facing widespread unrest, the Shah's authority weakened. His efforts at political reforms came too late to stem the tide of public discontent. Economic strains, political repression, and rising expectations left his regime vulnerable. Then, in January 1979, with opposition virtually uncontainable and the army beginning to falter, the Shah fled Iran. 2 weeks later, millions lined the streets of Tehran as Ayatollah Khomeini returned from exile on February 1, 1979, greeted with jubilant support. Within days, the monarchy collapsed. The era of the Ayatollah and the Islamic Republic was born. The Iran of the late 1970s was a nation divided between tradition and a modernizing vision. Brave students walked among bustling bazaars. Women studied at universities and listened to Western music. Oil wealth built highways and high-rises. And yet many felt that the soul of Iran was slipping away. When Khomeini returned, he promised a return to Islamic values and a government rooted in faith. Iran would never be the same again. Please follow our channel for more interesting history of the past.